It's not as good as the original. Wait, are you talking about the movie or are you talking about me? Both. You're such a prick. Hi guys, Billy back, and with the the situation we've got at the moment, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on YouTube, so I won't mention it by name, but because we're all on lockdown, we are pretty much waiting for everything to be posted from Hong Kong, China, that kind of thing, and there's not much going on. So I decided this is probably the best time for me to catch up on some videos that I did plan to do but actually missed out on doing. And the first one I want to do is the actual official Figma Predator 2 figure versus its KO counterpart. Now, I received the KO about 2 months ago, and I've had the Predator 2 figure since it was first released. In fact, I had it on pre-order because I just loved the design so much, but at nearly £100 for it, it's quite extortionate for what it is, which is a simple underscaled, it's not even 1/12, it's more like a 1/13th, maybe 1/14th at best, but it's still a beautiful looking figure, and I could not wait till I got it. And when I did, I was so happy with it because it just looks amazing. Its articulation is fantastic. My only real gripes are a couple of loose joints, but that's Figma all over. And then I noticed on AliExpress that they were doing a KO counterpart, and that really piqued my interest because I really wanted to see if they could pull off a competent KO from this. And I have to say, looking at them side by side, you can't massively tell which one is which, can you? I mean, it should be obvious. I always do it. The official is on the left, the KO is on the right. But apart from a few minor underscaled parts, there isn't a massive difference between them. Both have very good paint application, but obviously the official Figma version just wins hands down with its paint application because of the way everything is perfect on it. From the feet to the thighs to the chest armor to the mask to the cannon, everything, even the dreads, are just exemplary paint work. However, the KO, again, while not as good as the official version, for the price you pay, is surprisingly good. And I was really shocked by that because I really was expecting it to be an absolute turd in the wind, and it's not. Look at them standing next to each other. You could easily see, if you didn't have this standing next to this, you might not even be able to tell that this was a KO. But there are some stark differences. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the helmets off. Oh God. Did I just say I was going to pull the helmets off? Oh, fucking hell. Only on the weekends, baby. But yeah, let's just take these masks, face masks off, and see what we get. Okay, here are the masks together. The official is on the left and the KO is on the right. And we can see that the mask, this sort of dome area here, is far more nicely painted. There is a sort of a purpley blue hue tint. When you turn it into the light, you can actually see it, but it's not obvious, but it is there. And the details in the mask going around the side look amazing. Seriously guys, if you get a chance to pick this official version up, do so. The details on such a small figure is outstanding. But you can see it's a lot smoother on the dome. There is far more streakiness up here. They've sort of done a sort of bronze dry brush on there to try and make it look a bit more weathered, which kind of works really. It still works quite nicely. But there is about a 10% shrinkage in the mask. You can see maybe from the front there, from the face plates, you can see that this is tight, just fractionally smaller. The details, when you come into the side, not that bad, but you can still see it's a little bit more shallow in detail. But what a nice paint job they've actually done on this KO as well. But details wise, it looks fantastic. But you're going to notice maybe it's like a purpley blue gloss over the top. That continues all the way through the entire armor pieces on here. And there can be slight inaccuracies in the paintwork for this KO. Honestly, I like them both. That's the weird thing I do. I think they're both really nicely painted in their own way. But again, everything on here is going to be fractionally smaller, maybe like 10% smaller than the official. One of the main differences is the top of the head here. Paint application wise, there is some paint rub that comes off on the KO there, but I don't mind that. It looks a little bit more alien. Whereas the paint work on the head is just so nicely blended. It goes a lot more darker on the outside, but not too much, whereas the darkness on the edges here is a little bit more rough. And then when we come down and turn up into the neck, we can see that the shrinkage has actually caused this neck piece to lift and not drop into the armor that well, whereas the official one, the neck piece drops into the armor a lot more smoothly and it actually stays there a lot better, whereas this one, because of the neck shrinkage, it lifts out the armor a lot more. And you can see the joint in there just here that actually pops out, and that is a real pain in the butt because it's already halfway out already. You see left and right there, that left piece pops out from the bottom, and then you've got to try and push it back in and then snap it back into the ball joint there, and it's a pain in the butt. And that's one of the main issues you've got with this KO, is that the joints on the KO are just not as robust as the ones on the official. But honestly, the Figma even has its own flaws with loose hip joints and loose thigh joints just in here, which means the legs can really spread out really quickly and just sort of flop about, which is why I'm going to actually tighten those up, I think. But this guy, one of the main problems I've got is this right arm. His right arm pops out of the joint there, and it can be an absolute pain to put back in because it's so fiddly. Okay, let's have a quick look at that armor. You can see that this is just a little bit more finely detailed. It's a lot more well painted, and it all sort of it fits together much nicer. It just fits together a little bit more cleanly, whereas the shrinkage of the molds for this one means that the armor is a little bit more loose in parts. We can see that the armor underneath here slots into place quite nicely and is quite close, whereas this one, it just juts out a little bit more. But honestly, I really do like the bronze effect on the KO as well without the blue hint. I think it looks like a nice Predator 2 style figure. And one of the pluses on this guy is this guy still has his spear holder on the back, whereas on my official one, broke my heart seeing this. When I was moving him around, my one snapped off. So yeah, it's easy for me to tell which one's the KO and which one's the official, because my official one had his spear holder break off, and I can't put that back on. You can see it's just snapped off. It's not going back on anytime soon. I could probably drill it out and fix it, but I don't really see the point. I don't look at this guy from the back very often, but while we are looking at him from the back, let's have a look at the locks. We can see there isn't a massive amount of difference. Again, the detail is lost a little bit here, whereas a bit more finer detail in here. Like I said, about 10% better. And then the shoulder cannon, we can see there's sort of like a dark wash in there to bring out all those details, whereas the dark wash in the shoulder cannon here isn't as strong and doesn't show the details up as much. Still not bad. And then the paint app, you can still see there's that purpley blue sort of reflective tint on the outside of this armor here, whereas this one just does not have it. And also on this KO, this dreadlock likes to pop out a lot. It's easy to just put back in, but it does seem to come loose a lot quicker and a lot more willingly than say that one. And here are the faces with the open mandibles on, and you can see that the eyes are there, they're just hidden when you put that face mask piece on, whereas they're always showing up on this guy. And you can see that the mouthpiece opens up, but the details are a little bit different, especially in the paint app, because the KO has a bit more of a yellowy sort of tint to it, slightly more jaundicey, and there's a little bit more of a glossy look to it. And you can see that the mandibles do have that shrinkage, and whereas they have painted the teeth separate from the rest of the mouth here, they don't seem to have done that with this one, so you lose a bit of detail. But also you can see that the joint seam in the face is a little more obvious on this guy than this guy, and they both have it, but it just seems to show up a little bit more on the KO. But that's the same with everything. If you want all these joint pieces there are a little bit more of an open gap between every joint. Except for maybe the abs, I've just noticed that actually. This one seems to sit down a bit lower and is hidden a little easier than the joint ab here. But again, if we come down and look at the torsos, we can see there is a bit more of a softer paint work on here, whereas there's a lot more colours in the ab section here, and also it's a bit more defined. And before you ask, yes, the mouth does open up quite nicely, and they both look really cool. And all of the dreadlocks are posable and move about quite nicely, but obviously you can see, oh shit, just to illustrate that the joints on the KOs are weaker, you can see that that ball joint in there can split apart and come out, and it's a real pain in the butt to get that back in, which I don't fancy demonstrating for you now. But you can see that the gauntlet blades look really nice and detailed here, but they do not look as nicely detailed as the ones on the official. There's more of a wash in there, they look a bit dirtier, they look a bit more metal, whereas they use the cheap chrome just to splash on this guy and make it look like metal, but it still looks a little bit more cheap and toy-like. And just to illustrate the details that you get from each one, you can see that the official on the left here has got sort of like a nice chrome finish, but it's actually got a really nice black wash in there as well to highlight those details a bit more, whereas the details on the KO is a little bit more softer, and also it's a little bit more warped and misshapen than this one. And it still has that cheap plastic chrome on there to make it look a little bit more toy-like. And also with the paint applications, there is a slightly more brown hue to all of this with a nice sort of white lift on there, whereas everything is just a little bit more yellow on here, slightly more jaundicey, I would say. But again, this is a deep dive. This is not me just showing you them separately. If I was to just pick this guy up and show him separately, you probably wouldn't think anything different. Okay, there are a few more accessories that I need to go through quickly just before we end this, and here are the different spear tips. The one on the left is the official and the one on the right is the unofficial. And you can see it's a far more subtle, more cleaner paint job on the left, whereas a bit more slapdash and also a bit more garish on the right. But that tip is a bit brighter on the KO. But either way, they work really well, except for this guy. This guy has the cheap sort of stem there that pops in, whereas this guy has a bit more paint application on the bottom there on the official. Hands wise, he comes with the exact same amount of hands as the KO. However, I'm not going to go through all of these simply because there really is no point. But let's have a look at the KO versus the official. The official obviously has that slight bluey purpley hint in there, whereas this one has just got that bronze effect on. And the paint application is a lot cleaner and a lot nicer and a lot more detailed on the official, whereas the KO is a bit more slapdash with a bit more of a lazy wash in there. You can see it's just a bit lazier and a bit messier. But that's the same with all the hands. But he comes with everything that the official does. And also another flaw of note is the fact that the unofficial hands are really a lot harder and they're very difficult to put on those flimsy wrist pegs, and you have to warm them up. I'm not joking, warm them up every single time, because either that or you will snap the wrist pegs on that, because it is so stiff to get those hands on. Whereas this guy, it's a little easier to pop the hands off and put the official ones on. Okay, and posing these guys up, you can obviously see that it's a little bit more easy and a bit more comfortable to pose the official one up. It's just a bit more solidly built. You can move the arms around quite comfortably. You can move all the whole body around, the knees, the joints, and you know you're going to get a reasonable level of quality. However, it is a little bit more difficult to pose this guy up, because every time you move something, something else moves, or you know, the dreadlock pops out, or just something is just not right. Everything is shrunk down, everything is the wrong size. So some things fit better than others, some things stick out more, some things are more looser than others, and it is a bit more hard to pose. That being said, it is only 1/5 of the price of this guy. I mean, this guy's about, what? This guy's not even £20, I think, if you go on a reasonable, decent seller on AliExpress. This guy cost me like 100, if not more, to get this guy. So this, at 1/5 of the price, but not 1/5 of the quality, is an absolute bargain in my opinion, and you can actually play around and mess about with this guy a lot more. Yeah, the joints are a bit loose. Yeah, the items can pop out and it can be a bit of a headache, and that's where you're paying for the extra money, is for less of a headache with this guy. But you still have problems. Like I said, my spear holder piece broke off, and that's like £100 worth of action figure, and it broke, and there's nothing I can do about that. Whereas if this guy breaks, nah, who really cares? I'll just go on AliExpress and spend another £17. I could buy 5 of these for the price of this and have spare parts for this guy all the live long day. However, if you want genuine quality, high class paint jobs, decent strong joints, and ability to admire this from up close, you're way better off getting the Figma. But at 1/5 of the price, I am far more confident in playing around with this guy, because if this guy breaks, he breaks. Nah, no big deal. 17, 18, maybe £20 worth of figure. This guy breaks, I'm going to be crying for the rest of the day because of the sheer amount of money it cost me. So the choice is yours, but there is genuine fun to be had with this guy, but there is genuine quality with the official release. Okay guys, I hope that was at least informative. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. If you can do me a favour now, if you can get the fuck out of my cave. At this rate, I'll have no choice but to start reviewing my Marvel Legends. And, well, you haven't seen enough of those videos on YouTube, have you? Okay guys, bye bye.